You know, you see the pictures, huh?
That's what I told Casey. I said,
They were kids on wire. Go right there.
the only reason I reviewed it tonight was because when I print out those maps, black and white and all this, oh, I need to.
Unless they fix it. But you look at your comment, fix that pipe. We just did what, a little section over there that costs us $800,000.
That's not okay either.
What the hell is she yelling at?
Oh, now look at y'all here.
So 2 times now the IT people have told me that that's not strange. This is the 3rd time in a row.
So she's on the phone with IT.
No, she got somebody else.
I ain't got no problem with calling them too.
Well, no. I'm just letting you know, get somebody to mention you to say, hey, you know, we're not live streaming.
Yeah.
You know we're not live streaming, we're all recording.
John Fox. Yeah, John Fox asked me, he said, you live streaming? I said, it's a presidential debate, it'll be more interesting.
The debate doesn't start till 8 though, right?
This is like the normal.
I thought it was 8.
On my TV, it says 7, ABC.
All right, so this won't work. Did you call me today?
No, they didn't give me an answer yet. But I will let you know. I called Patricia, she was supposed to check with the construction guy to let me know the timing and have time.
Okay. Good.
What you trying to do?
Jim decided to change security systems, security companies at Thornton. So we get it all lined up and they come in. He's always bad about this. He'll call and cancel because the new ones come. So anyway, he canceled. The new one comes and they check our fire suppressor, sprinkler system and everything. We ain't got no water.
What's wrong?
People or contractors are in his yacht. One of the sex offenders are not dressing themselves. It's like I think one of them they're not dressing themselves and they're still sitting in front of it. It's hard to argue the attorney. He's pissed. I'm like, I get it, but they're not our contractors. He's like, yes, they are. No, they're not. They're Comcast. Right.
I talked to Wendy.
Yeah.
And I also talked to Loretta in Orangeburg today. Said for whatever reason,
And Jim's up at the new show in Indiana, he's being and I don't see him here.
and he said, because Carol's taking work all anyway.
He said she did.
They shouldn't have had the hot tap because it replaced the line. It should have just been teed off and gone in with the valve and then hot tap.
So Mike called the fire department and said, hey, look,
Hey, don't, so I don't really know.
they got all that flammable.
Well, no, but here's the thing.
So we're just,
Check there.
Yeah. So I don't
guess what? That they said everything was right. That it passed.
a holiday month
Now, did they do that?
Yeah. So, okay. All right.
In my office.
Ooh,
They
okay. Crazy. All right. Stan.
We have to check our sprinklers offshore. You do, every year, you gotta turn that
It's 6:01. I'm sorry, there's issues going on. Thank you.
All right, it's 6:02. We will call this meeting to order. Welcome to the City of Montgomery City Council meeting. We appreciate your attendance this evening. If you wouldn't mind looking at your phone and making sure that it is turned off so that we don't interrupt business at hand, I would appreciate it. All right, we have a full quorum this evening, and we will begin the invocation with Councilmember Stan Donaldson. Would you rise, please?
Father, we come to you tonight, Father, and we ask, Father, that you guide us with wisdom and understanding, Father, of the affairs of the city. We thank you, Lord, that we're going to do what's right in your sight and for the citizens of Montgomery. We thank you for this day, and we call it blessed in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay, the public forum, I didn't get any requests to speak. Diana, do you have anything? Okay, great. All right, then the consent agenda. There is nothing on the consent agenda this evening. And then public forum, we'll take any comments again. All right, moving right along, we'll go ahead and head into the regular agenda this evening. Item number 1 on your agenda, consideration and possible action on a minor amendment to the service contract between the City of Montgomery and Kendig Keast Collaborative to add an additional in-person meeting, $4,600, to present the interim ordinance amendments to a joint meeting between the City Council, Planning and Zoning Commission, and MEDC on October 1st, 2024.
Thank you, Mayor. So as some of you know, we are involved in this planning process with Kenny Keast. We're doing a recodification of the zoning code, some of the municipal code. We had a meeting with them to look at to go over the interim ordinances with our advisory team. And during that meeting, I felt that it was, I didn't feel, and that was virtual, and I didn't feel that they were able to kind of express exactly the changes that we needed to make. I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of interaction going back and forth between the team and the consulting firm, and I think that was largely because it was not in person. We have a joint meeting scheduled for October 1st, where they're going to be bringing these interim ordinances to you all to adopt, and I strongly feel that they need to be here in person. The issue is, in our contract, we have a set number of meetings that are in person, some are virtual. This can be a virtual meeting, we can stay with the contract, not have any additional costs. I just wanted to put this in front of you to see if you guys wanted to have this, have them come in person. So it would be the 2 people from Kenny Keast at a running point on this part of the project, and the cost for them to come here, attend this meeting for travel and everything is, I can't pull up, I think it's $4,600.
That's correct.
So that's what I have. It's, again, we can still do it virtually, but I think having them here to answer questions, present in person, obviously our internet is not that great in here. We continuously have hiccups, so I'm recommending that we add this to the contract and have them come and present in person.
So this is not a case of them quoting us, shortchanging us on the quote? Okay, I just want to get that clear.
We knew that we were going to have some virtual.
Right.
I just think the intricacies of trying to adopt these interim ordinances, and I was a little stunned at how detailed they were. And if you remember in that meeting, they threw a lot at us, and wasn't a whole lot of discussion. I think that was because I don't think people really knew what they were doing.
Well, and it is disruptive with the internet, the way that meeting, it was cut, stopped, and go back, and you lose the place. So,
exactly.
agree. So I think in person, yeah, I think that's...
Is this meeting going to update us on where they're at? Because see, I have this tentative budget. And the only way I know where we're at on this budget is by knowing how much money we've given them. Last month, they took out $40,000 out of our checking account. So I'm just trying to figure out where they're at, because I'm interested in all this stuff that they told us they were going to do in this period of time. And yet I don't know where they're at. So
They're actually ahead of schedule. We had to slow them down.
Okay.
We're, phase 2 is not supposed to start until after next fiscal year. They've actually done more work than we needed them to do, so we had to tell them to stop. So they're ahead of schedule as far as the project.
That's what I heard.
But for us, it's about cash flow and money issues, so we kind of pulled the reins back a little bit. But I think this meeting, since it's a joint meeting between y'all, the MEDC, and the Planning Commission, obviously it's a public meeting, a lot of people are going to have questions. It's an impactful decision that's going to have to be made, so I think having them in person is the way to go. But Stan, to your point, if you want to ask them while they're here, if you want to ask me to ask them, I can get an update for you.
Do you think that we'll use the full amount that we had agreed to pay them and be able to plug this number in so we'll stay within that budget? Or do you think they'll use all of those funds plus this 4,600?
I think they'll use every last
Okay.
penny.
I mean, they have been extremely efficient, I will say. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
They've been very efficient, and I've been impressed with them. It's money well spent for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the $4,600 amendment to allow KKC to present the interim ordinance amendment in person on October 1st with the joint Planning Zoning Commission and MEDC meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept a minor amendment to the service contract between the City of Montgomery and KKC to add the additional in-person meeting for $4,600 to present the interim ordinance amendments to a joint meeting through the City Council, Planning and Zoning, and MEDC on October 1st, 2024. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. It is open for discussion. All those in favor of approving the amendment on the contract between the City of Montgomery and KKC for the additional person for $4,600 in-person meeting between the City of Montgomery Planning and Zoning and MEDC on October 1st, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept this amendment contract and schedule the meeting for October 1st. Item number 2 on your agenda, consideration of possible action on Lake Creek Village's request to dedicate their private roads and underlying storm sewer infrastructure into the city's publicly funded system.
Thank you, Mayor. This item, you may recall, I think right after the first of the year, Lake Creek Village came and asked us, and I don't even know if that was the first request, asked us to take a look at the roads and see if the private roads at this time, to see if we would accept them in the public road system. I believe the workshop, and coming out of that workshop, we asked them to provide us some information. We're going to have our city engineers do an analysis on the storm sewer and the surface road. We have that analysis back from WGA, and I believe, is Larry here? And HOA is here to talk about this as well. Our recommendation is, they've got some problems out there. They've got some problems with the storm sewer, problems with the road conditions. Our thought is that in order for us to accept that into the public road system, that it'd have to be up to our standards before we can do that. Otherwise, if we accepted it at this point, we're going to be responsible for taking over the road, taking over all the maintenance of the road, and taking over all the underlying infrastructure that's below that road. Chris and Catherine are here. They can talk about their analysis, and I'll also defer to Larry to talk about his petition to the city.
Chris, just on the road analysis, it's what I can see is it passed on the road compaction and concrete tests.
So we actually did not receive the testing results until they were in the packet here tonight, so we haven't had a chance to review them and look at them. We only reviewed the storm sewer system.
Okay.
You only review it what,
The
Kathy?
sewer system.
Oh, the sewer system.
The storm sewer system. I apologize, I'm on the tail end of a cold, so you'll have to excuse my voice.
And I believe that analysis, Larry, was that first road analysis, was that back in 22?
Sorry?
Was that road analysis you provided, was that done back in 22?
No, that was done back in...
16, it says,
Okay,
2016.
so that was, okay,
Yeah, May 17, 2016. It's on there.
okay, so 2016.
Yeah, to color on that, so during the construction of it, the developer specifically asked us to not spend time reviewing roads and storm, since that wasn't a city function. He did not want the city engineer inspecting that work. So again, the reports that are in here are from the testing of that initial system going in.
Seeing how the system, they've never had any issues over there. They've been around when there's been hurricanes and 500-year floods and 1,000-year floods. And I've seen much worse in our infrastructure than these pictures. I'm not an engineer, but from my layman's eyes. And I don't ever recall looking at infrastructure like that and accepting roads. We've accepted a lot of roads.
We accept roads based on the spec that we put forth to start with. So when we put down concrete pipe and we watch them put it down, that's what we accept. This is after the fact, and it's not concrete.
Neither is the new Lincoln Elementary. They just redid all of that, and that's not concrete either. Their drainage isn't. I was just out there.
But they redone it, so it's there.
Well, we had to approve it because they had to go to the city to get permits and approvals.
But again, that's gonna fall like private, just like a private neighborhood. If they have to fix it, they have to fix it. We don't fix school property.
Oh, yeah, I'm just saying that they just did a whole bunch of infrastructure, and they use the same kind of piping.
I
And
understand.
the CTE's got the same
But
piping
it's
too.
on their dollar to get fixed, so
Yeah.
they can put whatever they want if they want to fix it themselves, right? It's not
Yeah,
on
but
the
I
city
have a
to
problem
fix
with the
it.
fact that everyone uses that road other than just the residents. Roads, other than just the residents.
No, and I agree with that. There's a lot of through traffic.
So I don't know that I think that it's all up on them. I think the city has some culpability to this issue.
Huh? I mean, would you like to stand up or?
He's got everybody here.
Okay.
We didn't know, I mean, they came ready.
It's okay. Yeah, I understand. Nobody signed up, but it's okay. Well, if Mr. Pinckney, would you like to get up there? It's okay.
I'm fine.
Okay.
You know, your work, I can tell you that everything is fine. There's just no issues that I see. One spot, and it's not even under the street. That looks like Entergy penetrated through the tubing, and we
Yeah.
can get that taken care of.
Yeah, I saw that.
Do we know what kind of pipe that is? What's the lifespan of it?
This is plastic pipe, which is similar to, just for comparison purposes and recency for this council, this is similar to the kind of pipe that was installed under Flagship that had some
That all collapsed?
issues.
Yeah.
Right. So this is plastic pipe. What the city's typical standard is concrete pipe, so reinforced concrete pipe that, as was mentioned, we inspect during installation to ensure that it's installed properly. Since, as Chris mentioned, this was, at the time of construction, this was to be private, we were directly told not to inspect the storm sewer or the road construction. So we requested CCTV videos of the storm sewer, the results of which are included in your packet on pages 8 through 10, which showed significant buildup of rock debris, multiple obstructions going through the pipes itself, and just multiple issues that would give us concern over the quality of the storm sewer system.
Mr. Pinckney?
Wish I'd call the report. The supplies, the debris that's in the storm sewer system is just past construction, rocks and stuff. If you had plenty of water flow, none of that would be there because it's clear outlet. It would have completely washed out. So therefore, that tells me, from my experiences, is that there's not that much flow going through the two sections that had debris in it. There is a spot where there's a cinder block. I don't have problems getting it out, and a piece of chunk of concrete. I have no problems with that. The ADS drain pipe, which you call the plastic, is all over the city. I mean, Buffalo Springs, their drainage system, which flows into Lake Creek Village, is ADS drain pipe. The hills of Lake Creek, those are all ADS drain pipe. The new stuff they're putting in behind it is concrete. And all of that, I'm not a civil engineer, but the real solidity of your drain pipes is how your base is constructed or maintained. If you put the stabilizing cement down or the, materials of that nature to stabilize it, you're gonna be fine.
Thank you very much for the additional information.
Y'all want to hear from me on this?
Go for it.
If you, I didn't know, yeah, go right ahead.
So,
Nobody said they wanted to talk.
this is a difficult situation. I'm going to talk from a public works perspective. I'm not talking from a tax-paying citizen or a elected board member. But what I'll say is from a public works standpoint, taking on this infrastructure without all the proper inspections is a horrible idea. I feel like y'all owe it to the rest of the taxpayers also to make sure that what we take is ready to go. We would never consider taking, if a new neighborhood goes in, Chris and Catherine are out there with their team inspecting everything that goes in. Every bit of the pipe, every bit of the road, everything's being looked at, tested, everything's being recorded for the future. We didn't have the opportunity with this. We were, like they said, we were specifically told. I was on site whenever that conversation happened. We were told, do not even look at the streets because they're never going to be yours to worry about. So I just think y'all need to think real hard about taking it on without the corrections being made, or what you're doing is just putting that burden on us immediately to, if something happens tomorrow, we have to go out and fix it, and it's not our MO to just accept something without it being brought up to city standards. Lone Star Estates, they've asked us for years to take over their roads. We keep telling them the same thing. If you bring it up to city standards, then we'll consider it.
But they do have a gate.
Yeah, and they have
They have
delivered
the opportunity to
infrastructure.
put up a gate. That's the thing here, is it is a private road.
Yeah.
We're not mandating that they keep it open. We never told them they can't put up a gate. They have those options.
How much would it be to do all what it takes to get it up to the standards?
Say that again.
What would money-wise, what are we talking about bringing it up to standards?
I don't know if we have a number on that because we don't fully understand what's right and what's wrong over there. Just the compaction tests from 2016 are great, but it doesn't tell us what's going on right now. If Philip was to build a road today, we wouldn't wait 8 years to inspect it. We would look at it then, and if it was fine then we would accept it and know that it's ours from then on. But it's tough to get, for me, it's tough to get behind the decision to take something on without it being brought up to the way it should have been constructed in the beginning.
So then, let's talk about Flagship. It was constructed the way it was supposed to, and it still failed, right?
No, it was not.
But it wasn't.
Was it? It was not done right?
No, definitely.
Then how did we not catch that?
That was way before any of our time.
I'm just saying, like,
No proper inspections, that's how it happened.
yeah, well,
So we
these people are taxpayers, they pay our water, they pay our ad valorem taxes, there's a lot of traffic that goes through there that's not their people. And we can if and buts candy nuts every day, like it could fail tomorrow, it could fail in 30 years, nobody knows. But I think we were doing an injustice to the taxpayers by not taking these in, and that's my 2 cents.
So, I'll give you mine. My 2 cents is this: I'm not against taking them in, but they're damaged right now. I have the pictures in front of me. So these pictures that your film crew sent us, those are power lines running through the middle of your culvert. So if you fix this stuff, then. But here's the thing: it's not anybody else's fault either. But this is your neighborhood that you want us to take responsibility for.
I'm not asking you to fix, I can fix that.
Right? So what I'm saying is, you fix it, and we have absolutely no problem in the future moving forward.
Are you sure about that? As a taxpayer, I'm paying for everybody else. Except us, and we keep coming and begging, and they won't even, we've given them all kinds of stuff, and they wouldn't even talk to you guys about it. They had no intention of talking to you guys about it.
Let me ask you this.
That's true.
Let me ask you a simple, quick question. If you went to buy a car, and it had a big dent in the side of it, would you want to pay full price for that car?
If I was being charged full price on it, I'd have to take it.
Well, because that's the thing, if this thing fails, we're all going to get charged full price for it.
Including
You're
us.
charging me full price now.
Yeah, and we don't even get it.
I'm just,
And you
what I'm looking at.
But Philip is Philip. We don't have police. Philip doesn't live there.
Oh, dude, I totally
We've done all
understand.
the stuff inside of it. I mean,
If you wanted to make it private, we would have to have 3 gates. One of them would be at Klepper and racetrack. And we would have to block traffic on the Klepper to anybody to even be able to get to a point where they open the gate. Otherwise, you're putting it into people's neighborhood. And then the one on Abner between Lake Creek Village and our subdivision, it's just in the middle of the street.
It's ludicrous. It's just ludicrous. I
People have
mean,
to turn around and people's neighbors drive there and everything. It's a mess.
it is a mess, and it started off as a mess.
Larry, what is the main reason that y'all are wanting the city to accept this?
It's for safety also. We get full protection.
Because you don't get police protection now.
Do what?
You don't get police protection there.
No, if there is an
But
accident,
paid full price.
So hold on.
if there's an accident in our subdivision, all the police can do is look at it, they cannot assign responsibility, and then it falls on the insurance of each individual.
What are some of the other
tickets.
Some of the other issues is speeding. They can't write tickets.
That is a major problem on that road too, yes, I
On that
know.
road, it is a major
Yeah.
We
problem.
have kids that live right past the event, that it's an issue. You know, they can't write tickets
On Abner.
and racetrack. And all the.
I'm only familiar with racetracks, so I don't know.
It lives up to its name.
Yeah, it does live up to its name.
I mean, we're in a bind.
Chief, would you like to comment on anything about that?
Well, he's right about those tickets on private roads. An accident's like on private property. When you do a private property accident, you go and look at that. At no point, with the exception of no insurance, can you do any ticket writing on that.
And this is a stone's throw from our downtown. I mean, people walk to downtown from there. I mean, it's close by. They should be able
We put our
to.
speed trailers in there, and we've also put officers in there to try trailer speed in there. And we've stopped people. I've stopped people in there myself. But it's really just about talking to them about the speed and then sending them on with us.
Well, I've lived here for almost 50 years, and to me, that road could fail. My road could fail too, but they haven't done anything to it for the last 45 years, so I'm going to make the motion that we accept. I may be wrong, but I'm going to make the motion.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm going to make the motion that we accept the action on Lake Creek Village request to dedicate their private roads and underlying storm sewer infrastructure into the city publicly funded system.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the action on Lake Creek Village's request to dedicate their private roads and underlying storm sewer infrastructure to the city's
Please
publicly
don't
funded
fail.
system.
Right?
This motion is debatable, amendable, or requires majority vote. It's open for discussion. All those in favor of accepting the Lake Creek Village request to dedicate their private roads and underlying storm sewer infrastructure into the city's publicly funded system, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept Lake Creek Village's request and underlying for publicly funded system.
My question now is,
Oh, wait, it's over.
no, it's a,
If the paper is up,
Sir?
we're gonna need a deed,
Okay.
because it's like a real estate transaction. Now that you authorize accepting it, we will have to do a little paperwork, identify the owners of the road and have the owners actually sign off on the transfer.
right.
So it
And
will
once-
not be effective until after the deeds and have been recorded,
Right.
correct?
So this is going to be my question.
Yeah.
So once we have ownership, then can we go to the utility company and say they damaged our property?
Probably not, because
prior?
That was prior to you taking over, yeah.
You can do it.
So
You can do it? Yeah.
for us before we take it over and say, hey, you damaged our property, we're trying to sell it to the city. Give it to the city.
Okay.
Coach?
Mr. Harris? Stand up to the podium, please, sir, because it's just for the sake of record.
My name is Rusty Harridge. There's also 2 light poles up in Lake Creek Estates that belong to us. Well, they were supposed to. Lake Creek did. Billy, the estates paid for those 2 lights?
They pay for the lights, because I did it like.
No, I'm saying, weren't those supposed to be in our neighborhood?
Now that, we can't do anything about, that is a developer
Well,
issue.
that's energy-
And I've heard that
that's
too,
energy, I
yeah.
think, but I was just wondering
Energy,
about
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
If they pay for the electricity, no problem.
Okay, thank you. All right, item number 3 on your agenda, consideration of possible action regarding approving expenses for improvements at Memory Park. Mike?
All right, Mayor and Council. So we had $40,000 requested for capital projects for parks, and y'all remember at the last meeting, or maybe the meeting before, we approved the repairs, and I believe you asked about the pavilion.
Yes.
So just so happened, the next week, Rotary came to us and said, hey, we'd like to fix the pavilion. We've got X amount of dollars that we can put towards it, so we got a couple of quotes. The $12,100 is what's left over in that line item of $40,000. So I told them I'll come and ask. If council says yes, then Rotary will put the rest. I believe it was $31,000 that they're going to contribute towards the project and completely rebuild that deck.
Mike, 1, do we have the money, and 2, where will it come from?
It comes from that line item. So the line item for capital had $40,000 in it.
Yeah.
We spent 29, whatever the difference is. We had $12,100 left over
Okay,
in that.
so that's all we're
So
offering
that's
us to
what I
get
asked,
to the 40.
just if we could use the 40,000, would they cover the rest?
Okay, and with this being the end of our calendar year, and it starts over October 1st, do you anticipate anything between now and the end of the month? I know we don't have a crystal ball.
No, this was
Okay.
a specific line item for that repair
Yeah.
job. It just come in way under budget.
Okay.
So with the leftover money, I told them I'd come and ask if we could spend it on the deck.
But that's out of this
Very
year's.
good.
Say it again?
It's out of this year's money.
Yes, sir, out of this year, yeah.
No problem.
I thought it was a fair ask if they're going to
Very
contribute
much
that
so.
much. Yeah, for sure.
That park provides a lot of value to our city.
Absolutely.
Make a motion to accept item 3 as presented.
I second.
Second.
It's been moved by Casey, seconded by Dan or Cheryl. To accept this motion as presented, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept item number 3 as presented. Thank you for allowing me to read that. Item number 4 on your agenda, consideration of possible action regarding approving expenses for repairs to the blacksmith shop at Fernland Park. Mike?
All right, we had wind damage a couple of months ago. We got one bid quick, and we've been trying to get some more in. Getting contractors to solicit bids is really tough. So we have the one bid from Drytex, which is a company that we've used before. Drytex is also Royce's Home Improvement. They've done a couple of jobs for us in the past and done really good work. So we would like to get the expenses to get that blacksmith shop fixed. There's not any money in it. There's not a budgeted line item for it, but we received insurance money for it. But we just had to go through the bidding process because of the amount.
So the insurance paid 25 and the repairs are 11, so I assume we had some other repairs?
Yeah, there were other issues. I'm hoping by the next meeting to bring back some painting of the Hewlin House. There was a little bit of roof damage, but a little bit of roof damage. It wasn't enough to warrant replacing the entire roof. So we're gonna try to get the painting done that was in that also.
Mike, I was going to ask you, we do take full financial responsibility for everything there, even though some of them belong to Sam Houston, correct?
We do, yeah. The contract with Sam says that we maintain them, we pay for them. We've actually approached them in the past to try to get some contributions for that and told them
So you or your men go behind them and check out the work, right?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Make a motion.
Make a motion to approve the expenses as presented in the amount of $11,355.02 to Drytex Restorations.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the expenses and approve for $11,355.02 to Drytex Restoration on this line item. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. It's open for discussion. All those in favor of approving the expenses of $11,355.02 to Drytex Restoration, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we'll accept those expenses for $11,355.02 to Drytex Restoration.
Thank you.
All right, number 5, consideration and possible action approving an administrative services agreement with GrantWorks for the American Rescue Plan Acts Fund. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You may recall during our budget workshops and our capital project workshops, we've talked about the ARPA funds that we have still sitting with us. We reached out to GrantWorks. They have a whole ARPA division, and initially they had given us an estimate for $20,000 for administrative services. The agreement in front of you is for $18,500. This would be all in next fiscal year or subsequent fiscal year, depending on timing and completion of the project.
What is the timeline on the ARPA funds themselves?
So we have to have a project committed by December 30th of this year.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And there's kind of all sorts of steps with that. Funds have to be expended. I think the extension has gone to December of 26 possibly, provided that you are making a good faith effort to spend those funds.
Okay, so would this be counted as a good faith effort?
What was that?
Would this be considered a good faith effort?
Having an administrative agreement to have an entity be able to help us identify our projects and put us on the path for that, yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
very good.
We do have to do annual reporting each year in March. When we get ready to do that annual report this next March, if we were to report that we've done nothing, that would not be in our favor.
Marianne, I was reading through the agreement, and forgive me if I missed it. I'm assuming that going through GrantWorks for this will protect us if they give us wrong directives and we spend the money in a way, because it's very complex. And if that protects us as well as kind of an insurance policy, that it wasn't us making that wrong decision, it was actually this third party and they're on the hook for a potential mistake or whatever.
So Alan may be able to answer that for us, but that is my
I just want
understanding
insurance
of
protection.
utilizing them.
That's correct. It gives us an extra layer of protection.
Okay.
Remind me, how much money are we talking about? Are we applying for money, or are we?
No, it was the funds that we received. We're sitting at about $372,000 right now with the interest that's been received on those funds.
So we're paying them to, or do they get to decide where we spend the money, or do we tell them how we're going to spend it and they decide?
So they will work with us. We will workshop. We will provide them our list of projects that have already been in the works. We have these needs, right? So we will provide them with that list, and they will work with us to identify kind of the ease of those projects. What are like clear, yes, this works, this will work, but we have to go through these other hoops. So they will work with us to identify that. But ultimately, it's our project. They don't come in and say, this is how you have to, this is the project you need to use it on. We will have the ability to do that, and council, more importantly, will have the ability. This will come in front of you to say, you approve using the ARPA funds for this project, or this, and this.
Right.
Yes.
That's
one of those boxes we have to check.
Being up here for the first term, I just want to say publicly, I don't really relish borrowing money from the federal government because of all of these hoops we got to jump through.
Right.
But, I understand we've worked with Grant Works before, and I understand they can be a benefit to us, and we need money right now. So I'm not really opposed to it. It's just, I don't like all the hoops. Because once, the bar is always servant to the lender. And when we borrow money from the government, they're going to make sure we either spend it like they want to, and who knows whatever other thing they might ask us to do. But that's just my personal opinion.
So this was not money that we borrowed from the government. This was the American Rescue Plan that the government gave out to local districts. And so this was money that was given at the, because of COVID, right?
AKA COVID dollars.
Right, it's the federal government's COVID
That's where they
initiative,
get you under their
basically.
thumb, though.
So,
Yeah.
They just have guidelines on how we can spend it.
Are you the contact person with Grant Works?
yes, I will be the contact person with GrantWorks.
Oh, let's see. Put it back. There we go. I'll make a motion to approve the administrative services with Grant Works for a total expense of $18,500.
I second it.
It's been motioned by Casey and seconded by Cheryl that we approve the administrative services agreement with Grant Works for the amount, for the ARPA funds in the amount of $18,500. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. Open for discussion. All those in favor of approving the $18,500 for the Grant Works ARPA administrative services agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept and approve the services agreement for $18,500. Item number 6 on your agenda, consideration of possible action authorizing the city engineer to begin work on the West Lone Star Parkway Waterline Extension Project. Catherine?
Thank you. So what is in front of you tonight is a proposed extension of the water line along Lone Star Parkway, beginning right in front of the community center and extending west to the western boundary of the proposed Tri-Point development. Now this project is going to be funded by Tri-Point. This was outlined in their approved development agreement. And so this is authorizing us to begin work subject to receipt of their funds. They have advised that they're ready to get going on this. So once they make their deposit for the engineering fees for this, we'll begin the design, and they will fund both engineering and construction.
Who's the field project representative?
Field project representative is an inspector out of our office. It will likely be an inspector named Angel. He's in the city pretty much every day inspecting public infrastructure.
Okay, so it's coming from y'all.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to authorize the city engineers to begin work on the West Lone Star Parkway Waterline Extension Project upon receipt of the developer funds.
I'll second.
Motion by Casey, second by Carol, that we accept the engineer to begin work on the West Lone Star Parkway Waterline Extension Project. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. It's open for discussion. All those in favor of accepting and authorizing the city engineer to begin work on the West Lone Star Parkway Waterline Extension Project, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept the authorization for city engineer to begin work on the Lone Star Parkway Waterline Extension Project. Item number 7 on your agenda, consideration of possible action on a development agreement by and between the City of Montgomery, Texas and Taylor Morrison for proposed 56-acre single-family residential development, development number 2404. Chris?
This is properties referred to as the Taylor Morrison property. So it's been looked at a handful of times over the past 10 years. This is on the north side of Lone Star Parkway. So they've already requested and received variances from you. Those are listed in here. So this is papering up that agreement, hitting the very highlights of it. So 56.7 acres of development. They're connecting to the water line on Lone Star Parkway, as well as the water line of Buffalo Springs to close a loop in the system. That'll be designed as part of their development. The wastewater facilities are the same, however, they are required to improve lift station number 10. So you reminder, we just did phase 1 of that improvements, which we upsized the force main that was paid by Pulte. This is phase 2, which upsizes the pumps. That was based on the timing we were going to do. It's one project with pro rata share between the two. Their timing got off, so we split it into 2 pieces, and so they each pay their pro rata share. So that is in here. It's the same mechanism like the others, which is the next item on your agenda. We'll do the work through the city. They'll put up the deposit and pay for it like the rest of the developments have done so. Moving on to page, hitting the high points. Where'd it go? Development regulations on page 5 of the agreement. So this is just memorializing that on March 12th of this year, they did receive variances for lot size, lot width for that development. And other than that, it's a pretty straightforward agreement. They pay impact fees up front. There's no impact fee credit on this because the lift station 10 rooms is not an impact fee project. There's no type of reimbursement or anything. It's just memorializing whose responsibility is what for this development. And the developer has reviewed this. He's approved, so they're ready to fully execute, and they already own the property.
So when do we need to proceed with lift station 10 improvements?
In about 30 seconds. That's the next agenda item on the list. So
It's not on one of the priority items of the CIP.
because it is only dependent on this development. Now, if this development agreement is not in front of you, we wouldn't do lift station, this phase of the lift station 10 improvement. So the current improvements at lift station serves all the development that's there. So Pulte, everyone else that goes to it. This improvement is required to serve this development. And without this agreement, we wouldn't proceed with that improvements project. So that's why it's next on the agenda.
Also, under drainage facilities, it says the developer submitted and received approval for a drainage study from the city.
We did.
So they do that and y'all approve it?
Correct.
They submit it to you?
We review their drainage model. We review their accounts to show the impact downstream. So they are proposing they're tying into Town Creek. They have a detention at the rear or the north side of the property before it enters Town Creek. So that gets reviewed by our hydraulics and hydrology team. So they review the model, make sure it's in compliance with the requirements, as well as if there's no impacts to the neighboring property owners.
Stan, you got any more questions?
No.
Make a motion to approve the development agreement as presented.
Second.
So moved by Casey, seconded by Stan, that we accept this development agreement as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept the developmental agreement as presented. Item number 8 on your agenda. Consideration and possible action of authorizing the city engineer to begin work on the lift station number 10 improvements, phase 2 project.
So, yeah, this is a critical project to serve the facility or the development right before this lift station 10 improvement. So as I just covered, as part of their agreement, they'll fund it. So again, this is authorization for us to begin, subject to receipt of funding from them. So no time, no money is expended until funds are in escrow with the city.
Just a quick one for the city, or acting city secretary. Diana?
Yes.
On this page, the recommendation, we need to correct it for the notes.
Okay.
Okay, it's a copy of one previous up, so.
Okay, yes, I
Yeah.
will correct that.
Yeah. Okay.
And the highlights of this improvements project is additional pump in the lift station to capacity, as well as an emergency generator. Right now, we don't have a generator on that facility, so this scope includes a generator out there, so it's powered through lifts.
Casey.
What?
Go ahead.
Okay. Make a motion authorizing the city engineer to begin work on lift station number 10 improvements to phase 2 project.
Second.
Moved by seconded. It's moved by Casey, seconded by Stan, to authorize the city engineer to begin work on the lift station number 10 improvements, phase 2 project. This motion is debatable, amendable, present majority vote. Open for discussion. All those in favor of authorizing the city engineer to begin work on the lift station number 10 improvements, phase 2 project, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries, and we will authorize the city engineer to begin work on the lift station number 10 improvements, phase 2 project. Number 9 on your agenda, presentation and acceptance of a feasibility study for proposed 50.8-acre mixed-use development by Dev Point LLC, known as the Villages of Montgomery, development number 2412.
All right, this is the first of 2 feasibility studies that I'll be walking y'all through this evening. Some of the content may be similar, but the development-specific things will be different. So as always, I will run you through it and report on our findings. So this is the Villages of Montgomery development. This is being proposed west of 149, pretty much just west of Shepherd Street, just on the other side of those homes, south of College Street.
Basically across the street, right over here.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes,
Just making
directly
sure we
across
get
the
it.
street. Yes, this will back up all the way to Town Creek, just to give you guys some perspective. So right now, the developer is Dev Point Homes, Dev Point LLC, excuse me. They're proposing 71 45-foot single-family lots, 27 50-foot single-family lots, some commercial pads, and a mixed-use area, still defining what all would go in the mixed-use space. So we ran through their capacities and everything that would be needed. So currently the property is zoned portion R1 as residential and B commercial, depending on especially what's going to be going in the mixed use area and where the commercial pads will be versus the residential area. There may be some rezoning that would be required to tighten up specifically the residential areas compared to the commercial areas and how it's specifically zoned. They will also be requesting variances for lot size and lot width to accommodate the 45-foot and 50-foot lots that they are proposing. One thing to note on there is that some of the lots are currently being proposed as alley load. This has been presented to y'all before. They came and did a presentation to discuss the concept before the feasibility study got started. So they're still proposing alley load for some of the homes, meaning the garage is in the back and the main access would be in the back for those homes. Front door still faces the front, of course. We then took a look at your water capacity from your water system. So as y'all are all aware, Water Plant 2 is currently under construction for the redrilling of well number 2 to get that back online. Once that is back online, as we've talked before, you're starting to get tight on your capacity. So immediate next steps would be to install an additional booster pump at Water Plant number 3 to get you up to 730,000 gallons per day. You currently have an average daily flow of 485,000 gallons per day. One additional booster pump again gets you up to 730,000 gallons per day. I believe we talked about this before. In the water world, we look at capacity from both a gallons per day perspective and a connections to the system perspective. There's 2 different limits and you have to be able to meet both of them to stay within TCEQ compliance. So on that gallons per day flow, you'll be there. Once you exceed that 730,000, the next step would be to construct water plant number 4. And so our recommendation, as we discussed last time, is to get that process going, which you have. You've started the beginning process for the design and getting that going because you will be approaching both your connection limit and your gallons per day limit, even with the addition of that booster pump at water plant number 3. Now, this development itself is proposing approximately 26,280 gallons per day. This is based on information provided by the developer and what they're expecting the property to use. As far as where they will receive service from, they will be connecting to the 12-inch water line on the south side of 105, as well as the water lines on College Street and Caroline Street. So it'll be a loop system through the development and also provide some benefit to the residents on College and Caroline, so they are no longer on a dead-end line. So all benefits all around for this development on the water end. Going to the sanitary side, you're in a similar situation, but you have also already authorized you've selected an engineer to complete the design for the expansion of your Town Creek wastewater treatment plant. We're hoping to have that contract to you at your next council meeting. We did receive it back from Half Engineering last week, so we're working through that with them, hopefully to bring that to you. This development itself is expected to use 18,250 gallons per day. You are currently sitting at 224,675, or 56% of your existing plant facilities. That number will continue to go up as you continue to develop within the city, which is why we're going with the Town Creek wastewater treatment plant expansion. As far as connection to the system itself, we would be requiring this development to extend a gravity sewer line along 105, including demolition of lift station B, which is in front of Solomon Electric, continuing that gravity line west down 105 to connect into what's currently, what will be relocated with the lift station 5 relocation for TriPoint. So a lot of moving parts going on with getting sanitary sewer service, but with TriPoint moving forward, that lift station relocation will move forward, and they'll tie their gravity line right into that same project.
So they're decommission, but a brand new. Is that what you're-
Decommission the existing lift station 5 and move it within the TriPoint property, as well as decommissioning lift station B, which is just a small grinder pump station that the city does own and operate right in front of Solomon Electric, decommissioning that and extending a gravity line along the frontage of it. So they would receive their gravity service from there. As far as drainage, the on-site storm sewer system will be conveyed to the city upon acceptance. As we mentioned earlier, this will be inspected just like all the other public infrastructure that goes in. Their detention ponds, they are proposing a large detention pond on the northwestern portion of it, closer to Town Creek. That's where their main detention will be. They've also got some secondary detention more on the east side by the small stream that goes right behind west side of the park, pretty much right across the street out here. So combining that where the natural streams are with where they're proposing their detention to be. As with every development that comes into the city these days, we are requiring that they detain any increased flow as a result of the development. What that means is that the amount of water that's leaving the property now is going to be the same or less when the development is done. They cannot discharge any additional water off of the property after this development is completed. They will have to submit a drainage impact analysis to us for review and approval as well, just like we discussed with Taylor Morrison. As far as paving and traffic, they are proposing the extension of Caroline Street and a connection to College Street. They're also tying into 105, so everything as far as their tie into 105, completing any kind of analyses, gaining permits, that will go through TxDOT. For the work to be completed on College and Caroline, as well as access, knowing the current condition and size of those roads, we'll be requiring them to submit a traffic impact analysis for the roads, looking at neighboring intersections to determine the impact that this development will have on those roads as well. And the last part of this is they're including about 4 homes to finish out the development along Shepherd Street right out here in front of, next to Cedar Break Park, excuse me. As part of that, they will be required to widen Shepherd Street to that full width up to 105 instead of where it tapers down now with the barricade. They'll be extending that all the way to 105. As far as development costs, they will be responsible for impact fees for this development. Based on the recent updates to the impact fees, they're looking at about $268,000 in water impact fees and about $257,000 in impact fees. In the feasibility study, we've outlined what their deposit for the escrow account to cover our plan review fees and inspection fees, et cetera, would be for that, as well as the cost of the off-site sanitary sewer improvements that would be needed for this project as well. As far as tax revenue that the city would generate, they're estimating an assessed value to be about $22 million. Based on that and assuming a 95% collection rate, to be realistically conservative, the city is looking at approximately $20,273 per year in debt service and about $63,327 in operations and maintenance revenue from this development itself. So,
This may be completely off, but I'm trying to remember where the 105, we have to relocate some stuff along 105. Is that the same line we have to, other side?
a portion of it, so for as far as what has to be relocated for TxDOT,
Yes, yeah.
some of it is along this frontage. A lot of what that is more vertical adjustments. Their storm sewer is running this way, and our utilities would be running this way, and so we just have to lower them a little bit. Part of that, one of the sanitary lines is in conflict. That would be taken care of with their offsite extension that they would have.
I was hoping to shift some of that relocation cost onto them.
Yeah, so when we were putting the budget together that we brought to you guys, we brought worst case scenario if the city needed to be responsible for it. If this development doesn't fall through, we wanted to make sure that it's included in your budget. But if this project were to go forward, we wouldn't have to do what was included in your budget.
Oh, we wouldn't have to do that?
Well, it wouldn't have to, it would be as part of this project, yes.
Okay.
They wouldn't have to both happen.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Catherine, we as a council have made the commitment to not get variances for smaller lots based on some feedback from our residents. And we did accept this, and I wanted to explain why. We had accepted, we did, we have not accepted, we discussed it because these homes are gonna be kind of a vertical and long home. The idea they're thinking is like a New Orleans style, and they would bring a lot of value to the city. And I just wanted to make that very clear, that that was the proposed or initial conversation, let's put it that way. But in requesting the variance, and that's what made it more attractive.
Right, so that's what we went off of for this feasibility study. Now, one thing I want to clarify is accepting the feasibility study tonight does not approve a variance. You're not entering into a development agreement. It's just accepting what we're presenting to you this evening. They would still have to come back with a separate variance request and a separate development agreement, at which time all of that can be discussed.
Are they going to planning and zoning anytime soon?
I'm not sure of the developer's timeline following this. This was provided to the developer last week when it was finished, so they can begin reviewing it. But as far as when they're planning on going to planning and zoning, I'm not sure exactly what their timeline is.
Okay.
According to the engineer, they would be going probably in the next month or two to start with that variance request process with planning and zoning.
All right, and then it still comes to council?
Correct.
Yes.
My concern too might be, what is the issues about College and Caroline Street?
What are the issues?
Those streets really don't seem to, 98 lots plus what's already on Caroline and College now. Plus on College, there's some issues with the creek there too, so.
Right, so being cognizant of that is why we're requiring a traffic impact analysis to look at those two streets specifically.
They need a lot of work, way more work than these folks do.
But you haven't heard back from them on the feasibility study?
No, they do it.
Not with questions yet. We only provided it to them on Friday last week, I believe.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for, Sarah.
Sir?
Where did you find out they're going to be New Orleans style homes?
They presented
They
it to
presented
us.
that, yeah. It's kind of up and vertical and long.
Yeah.
There's a neighborhood that they had done in the Woodlands, and they're talking 900,000 to $1 million homes.
They presented it to us.
No, they have not.
Yeah, they did.
They have not been to city council. They went to P&Z.
They've been here.
They were here. Yes, please, Jonathan.
Who?
The engineer.
No.
Evening, council.
I must have been absent.
Jonathan White with Los Red Engineering, just here to represent the developer. We did do a workshop several months ago, I think it was right before we submitted submitted the escrow and submitted payment to start this process, just to kind of introduce the project. I know there were some concerns, stand by you, especially in terms of lot width, size, things that were presented. They did present kind of their style of home. I think it was some renderings at that meeting to show what they would like to produce. The Mayor Countryman's point, they are going to be kind of a higher level. I think they're talking about $750,000, $800,000, $900,000 price point homes, as opposed to a $250,000 home on 45-foot lot or something. So a very different concept. But the next steps for them would be to come forward with y'all, respect those processes, workshop, feasibility study, variances, and preliminary plats.
Alan, what is our leverage on the development agreement to hold them to a price point on a home or a certain size or design of a home? Can we do anything
Size,
with a
but not
development
price.
agreement?
Not really, I mean, we tie through the lots and the subdivision flagging, but what's actually built on the lots, we don't have a lot of leverage.
Right, and that's my fear is, okay, yeah, we approve 45, 50-foot lots, and then they come back to us like Redbird and say, oh, well, the market can't withstand, right? We gotta build these little homes, so I'm gonna be very leery about approving anything.
When they brought it to us, it was kind of reminiscent of the ones that they have in Shenandoah.
Yeah.
That, I don't know what they call that area
Yeah, I mean,
there.
they're really, of course, there's going to be, a section of homes that are alley loaded, like Catherine described, that are going to be kind of your streetscape. But then there are going to be some traditional garage loaded, on the exterior. But, if there's some renderings or some things that you want, additional renderings or things that y'all want them to bring to you specifically, especially during that variance, because it's kind of the important meeting through planning and zoning council to.
What is the name of this down at it's actually in Shenandoah versus
French
the
Quarter.
Woodlands? Is it called French Quarters or something like that?
I believe so, it sounds
Okay.
correct.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
The absolute stuff. I'm not concerned about the streets.
I'll make a motion to accept the feasibility study as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Casey, seconded by Stan, that we accept the feasibility study as presented. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires majority vote. It's open for discussion. All those in favor of accepting the feasibility study as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we'll accept the feasibility as presented. Item number 10 on your agenda, presentation and acceptance of a feasibility study for proposed 73.7 acre single-family residential development by Dunhill Builders, Inc., known as Mi-Lago Reserve Development Number 2411. Oh my, we've got a lot of development going on, don't we?
There sure is. So this is feasibility study number 2. Like as I mentioned, talking about the general system capacity is very similar, if not identical, to what was included in the one that you just heard. So without completely repeating myself, I will stick to the development specific details of this feasibility study. We're in the same situation with your wastewater plant capacities as we were with the previous one.
So my question is for Dave. Dave, doesn't this reach into the Conroe ETJ quite a bit?
This does,
Okay.
yes. That was where I was going to start. Is this
Okay.
this property is a majority in the city of Conroe ETJ. A portion of it is in the city of Montgomery ETJ. None of it is currently within the city limits. They are able to come to you because of that portion that's within your ETJ. So before this property can be annexed into the city limits, they will have to be decertified from the city of Conroe ETJ, and we will have to receive confirmation that it has been decertified before the city can annex it into your city limits. So,
What do you think the possibility of Conroe releasing?
So in the last legislative session, they made this a lot easier for developers to exclude themselves from an ETJ with a petition. However, I had a conversation with an attorney about this last week, and what Conroe has been doing is they will not take action. So the statute says it's 45 days and it's automatic, but there's no action. The Attorney General is taking that stance of, even though it says it's automatic, that he won't accept it. So there's currently lawsuits going on to clear that up. So that's what I'm saying here. You have to have it in writing that they're out before the city, and definitely your city attorney will be comfortable with moving forward with the annexation of the property that's, you know,
Question, that watershed, is that SJRA or is that Conroe, all that water, regulatory floodway? Like, because it looks like it goes out to Lake Conroe.
So that is
Under
Stewart
Walden.
Creek.
Yeah.
So it's a
Stewart
separate
Creek.
watershed from the Town Creek watershed.
Yeah.
You've got, those are the other two watersheds in the city. So this is the Stewart Creek watershed that does ultimately flow to Lake Conroe. Yes.
and SRA does recognize that body of water
That's what I was asking,
as
yeah.
theirs.
Okay.
Approval from them.
Okay, that's what I wanted to, thank you. And the entrance would be off of Lone Star Bend?
Yes, so they're proposing their entrance to be off of Lone Star Bend. I mean,
At that little corner right there?
yes, so they have the little corner on the northwest portion of it. They would have one entrance, so one way in, one way out for this development. As part of that, we are requesting that they receive approval from the Montgomery County Fire Marshal because it's a one way in, one way out, showing that they have no objection to that setup itself with the number of homes and the number of access points. So on that, they would also be required to produce a traffic impact analysis for the impact on Lone Star Bend itself and the two neighboring intersections with both Bodark and Lone Star Bend and Lone Star Parkway. As we know that intersection does get backed up as well, and just to be cognizant of the impact that it's going to have on these intersections.
Catherine, I think that property down Bodark, they're starting to remove trees and start, I think the neighborhood's going in there from Walden to down Bodark. Is this going to connect to that or
This development will not connect to
Okay.
that development that I'm aware of. This will be completely separate.
Okay.
The only connection point that this will have is onto Lone Star Bend.
So the only, the tip of the, I guess the southeast corner there, where reached the lake, they want to put in a landing there, right? For people to reach.
Yes, a proposed boat ramp.
Or boat ramp or whatever.
Yes.
And also, I believe there's some talk about septic tanks. I don't have any objection to them going septic. I don't know about the rest of the council, but, that's just my take on it.
Yeah, if I may, if I could just run through it, I think that this might answer some of the questions that y'all have kind of outstanding and hopefully answer some of your questions. If you do have other questions as I go through the sections, please by all means stop me and ask away. As far as their water, so the system-wise, it's the same. They will be required to connect to Mialago Drive. So that's where the Estates of Mialago currently is. They have a dead-end water line at the end of Mialago Drive that they'll be connecting to there, as well as connecting to the water line on Lone Star Bend, to again create a loop system, both for the residents of Mialago Drive and this development. As far as sanitary, so yes, the developer has requested septic service. Now, your ordinances specifically do not allow septic service within the city. So we evaluated it from the perspective of if they were not granted a variance and they were required to do public septic, what would that look like? Because of the elevation on this site and the topography that they're looking at, it would likely be an additional lift station and then pump up to Lone Star Bend and hit the system from there. Now, again, it would be up to council on whether or not to grant a variance to allow septic systems. Some pros and cons of that would be, an advantage would be it would provide some relief on the sanitary system, and that would be flow that's not going to the plant. In the past, this has been approved before. This has been disapproved before based on different councils. Estates of Mialago currently only receives water service from the city. They're on septic, but that was a previous council, and other councils have disapproved the idea of septic systems.
So when you say septic systems, you are talking about an aerobic system versus a old-timey septic system, correct?
I'm talking about private septic systems, one for each lot.
So yeah, the aerobic, because they're so close to a waterway, the state would force them to do aerobic.
They won't,
Yeah.
State will force them to what?
To use aerobic. They wouldn't be able to get their sanitary permit without being that close to
being that close to
a
the
creek.
water with the aerobic system.
Yeah, they do have aerobics.
Yeah.
So we did evaluate both of those on the sanitary side. On the drainage side, their storm sewer system would be considered public, but any detention ponds, and then especially one thing I wanted to focus on is the channel that is at the southern side of that property. Currently, their land plan proposes that to be individually owned by each property owner. Their property would extend all the way through to the other side of the channel. We're requesting that that be modified and the whole channel be dedicated as one single reserve and not split up into individual property owners, so that there's one entity that maintains the channel and there's not public waters passing across private properties, etc.
And who's the entity?
Cleaner for the future.
It would
They would
be
be
the
a property owner.
Okay.
POA, HOA. Right. As far as, so we talked about paving and traffic and their tie into Lone Star Bend. They would be responsible for impact fees. Assuming that they receive sanitary service from the city, they would pay a sanitary impact fee. If septic is allowed, they would only pay a water impact fee because they would not be receiving sanitary sewer service from the city. So they would be responsible for water impact fees in the amount of $119,747 and wastewater impact fees in the amount of $115,109. They are looking at 59 single-family homes. As far as tax revenue to the city, each home they're looking to be approximately $650,000. And so that brings, assuming a 95% collection rate and assuming that 95% of the homeowners receive a homestead exemption, so a 20% reduction. So assuming both of those, you're looking at $42,389 per year in debt service and $132,411 in operations and maintenance tax revenue.
I'm not seeing it. And I know they presented this to us here a couple of months back. The lot size?
No variance.
You would not need a variance for lot size.
It'd be 70 by the 120s or 75 by 120s?
They're 3/4 acre lots.
Okay. Okay. So let's say if you do the septic system, there ain't gonna be no room for anything else back there.
And I believe Montgomery County requires at least a half-acre lot for septic anyway.
Make a motion to accept the feasibility study for the proposed 73.7 acre family residential development by Denham Builders.
Second.
It's been moved by Casey and seconded by Stan that we accept the feasibility study for proposed 73.7 acre single-family residential development by Dunhill Builders, known as Mia-Lago Reserve. This motion is debatable, amendable, or requires majority vote. It's open for discussion. All those in favor of accepting the feasibility study for the 73.7 acre single-family residential development by Dunhill Partners, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept the feasibility study for Dunhill Partners, Mia-Lago Reserve. Item number 11 on your agenda, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Montgomery, Texas, authorizing the change in name on the construction account, closing inactive accounts, assigning authorized signers for all City of Montgomery banking accounts with First Financial Bank, and providing an effective date. Mary Ann.
All right, Mayor, Council, this is a housekeeping item now that we have renewed the depository agreement with First Financial. We're before you this evening asking for the following changes. One is on the change in name on the construction account. This account was initially set up for the Texas Water Development Board deposits that were coming in, so we would like to remove that and just have it titled as the construction account. Right now it is a dual titling. This resolution outlines the accounts that would be closed and those balances being transferred to the general fund. It's important to note in this case, general fund just means it's the general operating account. We've talked about this over the last few months, how we've gone to a pooled cash environment. So the need for all of these bank accounts does not exist anymore. In the fund accounting world, everything is addressed by as you see in your pooled cash report that you get every month, that everything is addressed by a claim on cash for that particular pooled account. So that's what this is, and then updating the check signers with those accounts. Questions?
The line item there that said utility fund,
Yes.
so you're wanting to close, is there another utility account?
So there is not, well, yes, there is a utility account at the investment level. So at Tex Pool, there is a utility account for the investment purposes. Again, the utility fund operates in that pooled environment as well. So everything is handled under, depending on where you're at, sometimes it's called a pooled cash, sometimes it's called consolidated funds. It's all the same thing in the fund accounting world. The reason that some of the accounts remain, so like for example, we're keeping the debt service fund. The debt service fund bank account is important at the time that you would have any debt issuance. An account is necessary for those funds to come into, and they like it to be a designated account. So we're asking for that one to remain. Looking for, obviously, the Home Depot escrow account. That is a specific escrow fund for Home Depot, so that needs to remain. But as far as the other ones that are on this list,
So all the utility customers' money will go into general fund now instead of utility fund?
Yes, it has been since February.
So they've been depositing it into the general
deposit
fund?
it. Yeah, the customers don't deposit
No,
it.
but we do.
Correct. This is all a part of the streamlining and allowing your system to operate for you instead of work against your system. What was happening previously up at the utility window is there were 2 batches every day. One for general purposes and one for utility purposes.
Right.
That is not necessary and causes more issues in the long run when you're talking about the different bank accounts, transfers between, if there's we have a lot of times where we have people who are paying, potentially a permit fee and a utility tap. Now you have something in general, something in utility. I can't tear that check in half and send it to 2 different places. So it creates the need for human transfers. And that was one of the largest issues in conversation with our auditors, is a pooled cash environment would alleviate a lot of the troubles that the city has had in the past with transfers not being made. So while the amounts are there, these due to, due from transfer accounts were not cleared out. And you may recall there was an entry that needed to be made last audit when funds were recorded in the system as being transferred, but the bank transfer had not happened. So there was a particular bank account that was holding a higher dollar amount and a bank account holding a lesser amount because the transfer never physically took place prior to the end of the fiscal year. So this is what alleviates those situations. And this is at the recommendation of the auditors to move to this environment.
So what about the police asset forfeitures? How does that handle if we close that account?
It's all handled still in the fund accounting portion. And I will make sure that I point out to you on your next finance report what that claim on cash looks like. So you will see, that it still will have its own claim to the cash. It doesn't need to sit in its own bank account. It will participate in the interest division. It will do all of those things. We rely on the system to handle that.
So if we said we want to see what the police asset forfeitures are, you could go in and pull that out. Because I think it's important that we be able to not put everything in one bucket and still be able to see what's in there.
Yeah, we have to, because we have to report those funds. The same is true for court. There's special revenue funds, and as we've talked about in our budget planning, we're adding a few more special revenue funds. And so that is, you will see that. Those special revenue funds, you rely on the financial system in order to record that.
And you'll, even though it goes in one bucket, you will still tell us each month what
Yeah,
each
you
one
get that
brings in
report.
revenue.
You get
Okay.
that pooled report that shows.
It just makes you nervous putting everything in one bucket. We don't know where it came from. That's my,
Correct. There isn't a way to do that in this system because it has to be assigned someplace. And so that, your fund accounting system is what does that. Previously, the city was on QuickBooks, which is what made it necessary to have all of your individual bank accounts because each fund was set up as its own company in QuickBooks. And this company's bank account could not be shared with this company. And so every company, every fund had to have its own bank account. That was a GASB rule that changed in 1999. And
So we're up to
got
date.
y'all moved over. We got
That
y'all moved
wasn't that
over.
long ago. That wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
okay.
So yes, and I will be sure to point out to you what the report, like how you see that in this report.
Yeah.
You will see, the report we'll look at in 2 weeks will be August report, but you'll have an understanding of what you will be looking at in the future of how that's reported. So the money doesn't go anywhere as far as it stays with that fund. It just goes into this.
Bigger pot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The transactions, though, would not have a physical accounting proof, right? So we'd have one giant fund, and all of those accounts would have to add up. And at any point, we could say, well, we think it was this one that was short or long, right? We wouldn't know for exact because that account is closed and it's all general pool now.
So you mean as far as like taking these accounts and transferring it?
No, I'm saying that from a line item standpoint, if I have just a total at the bottom, and here I am entering, I could long one, short one, and say, well, I think it's this one, this is the long one, this is a short one, because there's no physical cash asset, because it's all pooled in one account that says this one is actually short. So
your
when you have a
asset
line
is-
item to an account, that account will have 20,000 in it if you deposited 20,000, right? No matter what your paperwork says, the deposit in the bank will be, here's your hard evidence, 20 grand. On a pool, all of those accounts go in there, and it's 100,000. Oh, we're short 20 grand. Well, which one is it? Well, it's one of these.
No,
Because
you
that's all manual.
absolutely would see it.
Well, you would see
absolutely
it, but
would
you
see
could change which one it came from. Because there's no physical proof on it.
it. So you actually can't change that in our system without there being a hard footprint of what's changed.
Okay.
The only way that that is changed would be through a journal entry.
Right.
Some of your accounts, including your claim on cash account, it is a protected account. We cannot post directly to that account. It gets posted to that by making an entry with an eligible expense or revenue account. That is the only way that it gets adjusted in that asset account. We can't post to it directly.
Okay.
So yes, that's how you would see that information. The other thing is in your pooled cash reports, and again, we'll talk about this in 2 weeks, your pooled cash, if there is an entry that is made, you would get out of balance. And your pooled cash report shows you every day, I look at that report every single day to make sure that there is nothing that would put us out of balance. There isn't a way for us to do that. Like we would always be in balance. There might be some fluky thing if we were setting up a new fund, and if the new fund is not, does not have its interfund transfer, it's behind the scenes, it will throw it out into that out of balance piece. And as soon as that triggers on there, then we need to get with Encode and get that issue resolved, because we'll never be able to reconcile a bank account if it's out of balance. So all of these things work together in order to protect the funds that are with the entity. There isn't a way for you to like go around that, because you'd never be able to reconcile your bank accounts.
Okay.
So you're saying that anything that goes in is always financially transparent?
Yes, absolutely.
So the key word, that when she said journal entry, to move to make the change from one account to the other, right? Then I understand, because journal entries are flagged in audits. So every time you make a journal entry, it's flagged.
So that's one of the very first things that we give to our auditors. They get a full listing of all journal entries for the entire year, and they get a full listing of all activity in every one of our general ledger accounts. And then they utilize that information. That's how they pull their samples, but they literally comb through thousands of pages in looking at every one of those lines all the way through there. That's why it takes so long to get through audit.
Very good.
Any other questions?
So we have to approve the resolution, guys.
All right,
Okay, make a
Make a motion that we approve agenda item number 11 as presented.
I second the motion, and I'd like for us to provide an effective date.
What's that?
Provided what?
Effective date today.
It asked effective date,
Oh.
so that would be the day.
So when do you want that date?
Yes, it would be today.
Okay.
Today?
September 10th.
Yes, and then we will work with the bank. We will get them this resolution, and the bank will do up the signature cards, and we'll get y'all to sign those and so forth.
I second it.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we accept item number 11 as presented with an effective date of September 10th, 2024. This motion is debatable. Amendable, requires majority vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we will accept item number 11 as presented with an effective date of September 10th, 2024. Item number 12, consideration and possible action on appointment of Wayne Joe to City Council Place 3 to serve the remainder of the term expiring May 2025.
I would like to propose no action on item 12. He texted me right when the meeting started and said he was hung up at work and was not going to make it this evening.
All right. Then there will be no action on item number 12. Next up, council inquiry. I just had the one inquiry with the guys in the consolidated, Mike, we discussed it, but just for transparency, there's a lot of growth going on in the city, a lot of guys in our city and not English-speaking guys, and they're entering into people's yards. And Mike, we talked about it. Is this something that they should this happen to a resident? Should they call City Hall? Should they call 911? What's the right protocol?
I don't know the answer to that, because there's not a whole lot we can do about it.
Right.
Being in the right ways, putting this stuff in, if they're getting on their property, I think that would be a police matter. If they want
Okay.
to keep-
And they are not, to be clear, they are not our contracted
No, they're
workers. Okay.
These are,
Thank you.
what's in town right now is Comcast.
Yeah.
And they have multiple companies, subcontractors performing boring work, for the installations. And yes, the crew that I encountered yesterday blatantly told me that what they were doing was flushing dirty water out of the hydrants for the city.
Wow.
That's what he told the city employee when they were stealing water. So yeah, it's a battle right now trying to keep up with these guys, keep up with the locates, keep up with trying to catch them stealing water. Without it, just, we can't watch everything.
Yeah. Well, the pictures I was sent.
He watches, they know. We actually had an off-duty Conroe officer that lives over there that called in on yesterday.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, all the boring rigs right now they're not city contractors.
So, Alan, when we literally catch them in the act of stealing water, can we ask them to leave? Can we stop them from continuing on?
What do you do, Chief?
You know, we'll address it. And that's part of a huge scam, people dressing up like utility workers and going to.
Can you please approach the podium?
So no, if they're doing that, they need to call us. They need to call us. They get someone at their house or outside their house, they need to give us a call. We'll come check it out and see what they're doing. Because this is not the first time that we've caught someone stealing water. So, or even gas. So yeah, they need to give us a call.
Okay. So 911 or to the city? I just need to give this guy directives.
You call 911.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had situations where people will will just run a hose from one house to theirs. And I don't mean just to water their yard, but just to furnish their water. And yeah, it's theft of service and
Yes.
it's offense that's criminal act.
Hopefully the fine's heavy.
From the pictures that you showed me earlier, one of the things you might want to tell them is, most everybody in town has an easement in their property. I mean, they have a piece of property, but there's an X amount of feet on the frontage of that as a utility easement that they are allowed to be in. But I know one of those pictures you showed me, I mean, it looked like they were at the front door.
Almost at the garage.
They had private property rights
Yeah.
that they could address the video.
They're just throwing the city under the bus, and I'm like, they're not our guys. And then he got mad because there was a police officer sitting there at a stop sign, and they didn't stop. I'm like, well, one, they're not our guys, and two, why would the police officer stop it? You need to call. He's not gonna check, and there's nothing to check, so. Anyway, okay, I just wanted to make sure, clarify. Thank you. Anything else? Anybody else got anything on their mind?
Want to hear about Hope Brown?
Huh?
Hope Brown.
Oh, yeah, well, if you'd like to, yeah.
Well, I called her today.
Yeah,
and,
good.
She had some more information. Actually, she got hold of Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah.
They came out this morning and inspected her father's place, and they're saying that he needs, in material costs, he needs $4,000 to fix whatever it is they looked at. Because she explained it to me that the last time through grant work, when they went out there to fix his house, that they told him he had some settlement issues. And they, of course, didn't have any money to address that. And now I think that's what the problem is out there. And so hopefully, he can get some relief. And also found out, he's battling cancer. So, he's kind of got a double dip there. So anyway, I know Gary reached out to some place, but I've been carrying this little thing around. It's called Houston Assistance Ministries, and it has to do with things that are going on in Harris County. But I thought it might be nice if we could put up some kind of list or some kind of card they could pick up in the lobby here and know who to call and when to call about food assistance or any kind of aid that they might need. Now, construction and stuff like that, that's a little bit different situation, but it would be nice to have something like that out in the lobby to help some of our people that are fighting some, financial and physical battles. So, but anyway, so she gave me some other good. She's been doing her homework.
Yeah, good.
She's doing a good job.
Yes,
Joe
she
Harris.
has.
So.
Good. Okay. All right, with that, we'll go into executive session. Adjourn into closed executive session as authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Government Code, Sections 551.074, Personnel Matters, City Secretary Recruitment, 551.074, Personnel Matters, Finance Director Discussion. It is 7:34, and we will head into executive session.
I talked to him today. They had a water,
Apparently.
a cooling tower go down and work right
When I
at.
heard you say that, I was going, she must be wrong.
All right. No action for executive session? With that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
We will adjourn, 8:16 PM. Thank you.
What did I do with my car keys?